afternoon and welcome to LIB Constitution Review and Action Committee. This is your host, J. Christian Watt Sr. Today is Saturday, June 27, 2020, and we have a loaded show for you today. We are going to be focusing on Article 2 of the Liberian Constitution. Previously, we touched base on the preamble and Article 1 of the Liberian Constitution. So we're going to continue today, and we are going to discuss Article 2, and there are two sections, A and B. We are going to talk about the demonstrations in Liberia, also the issue with Justice Cabinet Janet. There was a flood, I understand, in Liberia in which 5 people lost their lives. Our condolences to the family of those that lost their lives. We also want to admonish Liberians to be very careful with the coronavirus pandemic. This is a serious situation that is going on in our country, and we do not want Liberians to drop their guards at this time, because this is important. Our show is going to talk about the actions or inactions of the Solicitor General in reference to Chancellor A. Nabrusi Nwabudiki's citizenship. The action for Criminal Code C, equal representation of the seats in the legislative branch of government, and other trending issues occurring in Liberia. So we're going to take a break, and when we get back, we will be ready to proceed full speed. So share this video so that we have a productive discussion today. Thank you very much. Welcome. Stay tuned. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. This is LIB Constitution Review and Action Committee with your host, J. Christian Watt Sr. Today, our program, the main focus of our program today is Article 2 of the Liberian Constitution. We are going to proceed throughout informing and educating our people about our Constitution. Previously, we discussed the preamble, and today we are looking at Article 2. We also discussed Article 1 of the Liberian Constitution. So today we're going to be looking at Article 2. And as I said, we have a loaded program for you today. We want to thank you for tuning in and welcome. So without further ado, let's see whether or not my producer is able to put the Liberian Constitution Article 2 on the screen for us. And we are going to discuss that now. Okay, so while we wait for the producer to put that on, we will just, the Article 2 of the Liberian Constitution is now on the screen. So I'm going to proceed to read Article 2 of the Liberian Constitution. Article 2. 1. This Constitution is the supreme and fundamental law of Liberia, and its provisions shall have binding force and effect on all authorities and persons throughout the Republic. 2. Any laws, treaties, statutes, decrees, customs, and regulations found to be inconsistent with it shall, to the extent of the inconsistency, be void and of no legal effect. The Supreme Court, pursuant to its power of judicial review, is empowered to declare any inconsistent laws unconstitutional. That was Article 2 of the Liberian Constitution, Section 1 and 2. Briefly, I am going to just elaborate on what the law means. Article 2, Section 1 tells us or informs us that the Constitution of Liberia is the supreme and fundamental law of Liberia, and its provisions shall be a binding force. That means whatever the Constitution says must be carried out by the people or the authorities of the Republic of Liberia. And this is not just for implementations by the authorities, but this section also holds all authorities and persons throughout the Republic accountable for their actions. Okay? Now, any laws, any treaties, that's anything signed by those in authority now, okay, or in previous administration, okay, any decrees, law made by anyone in authority, customs, or regulation found to be inconsistent with it. That is anything that is done by this or previous administrations that is inconsistent. Inconsistent doesn't mean that it is not in the Constitution. It may be in the Constitution, but it doesn't conform to the exact explanation or intended purpose of that law. is going to be unconstitutional. So even if it's in the Constitution, and some people think that what they're doing or their actions is in line with the Constitution, but it's inconsistent, then that is going to be considered unconstitutional by the powers of the judicial review. Okay? So thank you very much. That is what we have for Article 2 of the Liberian Constitution. Now, ladies and gentlemen, again, I want to welcome you. We are going to look at some of the effects of the judicial branch of government in reference to Article 2 of the Liberian Constitution. So we had a recent presidential and senatorial, I think, representative election, okay, in a nutshell. During the election process, there was a lawsuit filed by Chancellor Bronsky that revealed several violations of our Constitution and several inconsistencies of our Constitution by various factions. Okay, we saw people that were not Liberians voting in our election on video. The Supreme Court looked at that. As I said in my previous programs, that alone is gross violation of our Constitution to warrant a complete re-election. Okay. Also, we had many duplicate entries on our roster. Conditions were not favorable to allowing voters. There were frauds committed, and yet the judicial branch of government allowed the election to proceed. And because of that, we have some of the problems that we're encountering now in terms of the other branches of government implementing our Constitution accordingly. Okay? The Supreme Court decisions or opinions have cost our country a lot. So again, all of the actions done by either the judiciary branch of government, the legislative branch of government, or the executive branch of government, if inconsistent with our Constitution, shall be considered unconstitutional. And if this current judicial branch of government is not capable of functioning as an independent branch of government, then we would just have to, review all of the actions where we have the right administration in power so that we can reverse some of the decisions. Okay? Also, today, I wanted to take a look at the demonstration in Liberia for salaries. But first and foremost, before I did that, I wanted to extend my condolences to the families of those killed in the flood in Liberia. My sincere condolences to you. I'm sorry for such tragedy, and we pray that their souls be received in heaven. I think it's my understanding that 5 persons were killed in the flood. With that said, I want to admonish Liberians to please do not let your guards down at this time. Corona is real, is dangerous, and we should not assume that because of the weather conditions in Liberia that we should think that, Corona is not in Liberia or it is a lie. No, it is very real, and I understand now the numbers are increasing. If I'm not mistaken, we have 404 and increasing. So please practice social distancing and use your face mask when you are in congested areas. It's very important that we take heed and govern ourselves accordingly. The state of emergency, I understand, has been extended. Liberians, it is important that we elect individuals to the separate branches of government with who has independent minds. Okay? Those elected to the different branches of government should have independent minds and should be in the interest of the Liberian people, not an individual or few individuals. Okay? We see that there are a lot of things going on now that could be done differently. All right? Demonstration was done in Liberia, in which I understood there were some violent activities done that were inconsistent with the Constitution of Liberia, such as burning tires. But yes, those actions were not appropriate. But again, you have to look at the source of such actions. When you have such irresponsible government that is not paying the people in Liberia, people are suffering with no money and no food for their families, and they are not getting paid for wages earned. They have already worked for their wages. So if you are appropriating 8 or 9 million just to the distribution of food, the cost of distributing the food, not even the food itself, okay, and then you have contradictions from international partners about how much it really costs to distribute the food. It's unacceptable. Okay, and then you have so many Liberians that are suffering that cannot get paid. So it is the government that is initiating or violating the rights and freedom and happiness of the people. And if peaceful demonstrations do not bring the government's attention to the plague and the ill treatment of Liberians, then maybe a more severe action short of injuries or property damage is relevant. It may not be appropriate, but it's relevant to bring the government attention to the problem that is ongoing. You cannot just ignore the plea of the masses, the people that have the power, and think that, oh yeah, they're just going to demonstrate and they're just going to get tired demonstrating and they're going to just leave the streets. No. If the people demonstrate and you do not want to listen, or you feel that because you're in authority and you do not work for the people anymore, then you should understand that that's unacceptable. So while it is not appropriate to burn tires, it did not cause any injuries. It did not cause the destructions of properties in Liberia, but it did in fact bring the focus of the government to the plight of the people, to make sure that the government know that this is serious. So on many occasions in advanced countries that practice democracy, these actions are consistent with the Constitution of Liberia. For example, all powers is inherent in the people. You understand that? And the people shall cause. It did not say anything specific about you cannot burn tires. It says you cannot disturb the peace, or you cannot destroy lives or properties. You cannot commit injuries against people. But cause means that you will do something to make the government understand that this is serious. So the government cannot just go ahead and continue to feel that you can just ignore the Liberian people and just with impunity and nothing happens, and you just continue the same economic atrocities against the people of Liberia and feel that you can just get away with impunity. That is unacceptable. That is not going to work. So while I do not support the burning of tires, it is a method, an elevated method used to bring attention to what is going on in Liberia. Peaceful demonstration, civil disobedience with reservations of tire burning is something that the government need to pay attention to. It's something that the government should take seriously, and I hope they are not looking to persecute those that burn the tires. I understand they are arresting people, but it's just a form of freedom of expression. Okay, it's like analogous to burning the flag of Liberia. I don't know whether or not, I don't think that is even unconstitutional, excuse me. So burning tires is just an expression of dissatisfaction with the activities of the government, and the government should take heed. You know, the government should pay attention to the plague of our people. How can you expect our citizens who are already going through such a terrible time to work for all of those months and you just ignore them? You ignore them and you feel that this is something that is correct, something that you can just do and to hell with the people, excuse my expression. But that's what it seems like. You take no action whatsoever. Okay? And this is unacceptable. We must endure to serve the people of Liberia. No member of any of the three branches of government in Liberia is above the law. None. Not the president. The people can cause the president to be removed at any time. Okay? Not any member of the legislative branch of government. Not any members of the judiciary branch of government. So I want you to understand that when you ignore the people, civil disobedience is not determined by the government as long as it's not threatening the lives and property of Liberians, but is to bring attention to what is going on. So the government of Liberia is responsible. You are the initiator of such violence in our country. Had you paid attention to those people that worked for all those months and paid them, you will have no demonstration. But you cannot be irresponsible and expect others in reaction to your action be considered violators of our constitution. So you are the ones, the government of Liberia is causing this problem in our country. That must be addressed. The government of Liberia, specifically the executive branch of government, is not above any other branch of government. So with that said, I want the government again to take heed about their actions and understand that you work for the people of Liberia and not any member of the executive branch or any other branch of government in the Republic of Liberia is above the law. I wanted to also bring attention to members of the Ministry of Information. I understand certain low-level employee of the Ministry of Information are in a consistent habit of issuing threats against Liberians for their freedom of expression, to the violations of our constitution by the Liberian government. And this low-level official of the Ministry of Information made statements consistent with a talk show host by the name of Henry Costa must die. Okay, first and foremost, let me remind the entire government of Liberia, all three branches, including the judiciary branch of government, that the executive branch of government and officials of the executive branch of government is not above the law. As a member or employee of the Liberian government under the executive branch of government, specifically the Ministry of Information, let me remind you that your job is not to defend the executive branch of government. That is not your function. In fact, when you are working in the capacity as an employee of the Ministry of Information, you have no authorities to make statements against the opposition, against any Liberian citizens, against international partners of Liberia, against any other agencies of the government or any branches of the Republic of Liberia. Your only function is to present the information to the Liberian people as accurately as possible. If there are any constitutional activities from any ministries under the executive branch of government, it is only your responsibility to report the issue as it is. No officials, no members of the Ministry of Information is a mouthpiece in favor of the executive branch against the Liberian people. That's not how it works. When you are in the capacity as member of the Ministry of Information, you work for the Liberian people. You cannot defend the executive branch of government or any other branch of government by going after an organization, an entity, or an individual. In this case, a low-level official of the Ministry of Information made threats on the life of Henry Costa, that Henry Costa must die. Such statements is against the law, and such low-level individual should immediately be removed from the authority at the Ministry of Information. We should not condone such statements. It is irresponsible, and it reflects the behavior or direction of the Ministry of Information as the mouthpiece of the executive branch of government, and this is wrong. We do not see any actions or statements in reference to tourism. We want the Ministry of Information to just present the information as it is. Do not defend the government. That is not your job. And if you work for that ministry, the Ministry of Information, you cannot work for the Liberian people and threaten the Liberian people at the same time. You cannot make any statement or statements when you are working, especially from 9 to 5 when you are in office. And if you serve in the capacity of public trust, then you cannot go after any individuals, or you must resign the position. So we need the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism to focus more on cultural affairs. Tourism, how are you going to bring more tourism to Liberia and make that industry robust so that we generate revenue and income from that? Look at the cultural affairs of our country. How can you really enhance that, improve that? That should be your focus, not to defend the executive branch of government. So again, the actions of the information ministry just point a finger at the entire executive branch, and just to make Liberians to understand that the priorities is just out of shape, and that needs to be corrected, or appropriate actions need to be taken. So Liberian people, make sure that this election you balance out the executive with an independent legislative branch of government, so that we have check and balances amongst the three branches of government. Okay, we're going to take another break, and when we come back, we're going to look at the actions of the judicial branch of government, specifically the Supreme Court, in the case of Cabinet Janet, and the actions of the Solicitor General Serenia Cephas concerning the illegal activities of Chancellor A. Nibrusi Nwabudike, okay, and his citizenship issue. So stay tuned. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back. Again, this is Lrtn Live with LIB Constitution Review and Action Committee. This is your host, J. Christian Watts Sr., and we'll be right back. Thank you for watching. Good afternoon. Welcome back to LIB Constitution Review and Action Committee. This is your host, J. Christian Watts Sr. Today we're looking at a lot of different legal issues. We discussed Article 2, Section A and B of the Liberian Constitution, and we looked at other trending issues, including the demonstration in Liberia, the statement by low-level employees of the Ministry of Information. And I wanted to bring some attention to the issue with Cabinet Janet. Cabinet Janet was an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of Liberia. It is very important, Liberians, that the actions of the branches of government are equal and independent, because when you make decisions, especially if you are a member of the judiciary branch of the Liberian government, your function is to interpret the law, to make sure that the law is not ambiguous, or in situations where the law is ambiguous, you want to clarify the law, okay, so that it becomes the new law of the land. But when you sit there and allow our constitution to be violated because you are in bed with another branch, in this case the executive branch of the Liberian government, then you put our country at risk. You put our country at risk because the actions or inactions of the judiciary branch of government is going to have consequences upon our country. The judiciary branch review the past presidential and senatorial representative elections in Liberia. There were many violations. Yet, instead of the judicial branch of government running or providing an opinion of a complete re-elections, they just ignored all of the violations and just provided statements on certain issues that need to be corrected, but allow the election to continue in the face of violations. This has hurt our country. Okay? You cannot allow elections to continue when there are fraud that were proven. Okay? You cannot allow an election to proceed when you're looking at a video of a non-Liberian citizen voting in our election. What's the integrity of the judicial branch of government? You cannot look at just being in favor of one branch of government or few individuals when our laws are being violated. Since your opinion that certain things should be done to clean up the registry, the election registry of voters, and to take certain other actions, nothing has been done, nothing has been said about all of the violation and infringement of the Constitution by the Election Commission. The judicial branch said nothing. The legislative branch said nothing. And the executive branch have not implemented the opinion or orders of the judiciary branch. And it's just all well and okay. There's been no updates whatsoever. So because of that, we see all of these different actions by the executive branch of government who feel that they have the supreme authority over all of the other branches, because the judiciary and the legislative branches of government are not performing as equal branches of government. We have all kinds of phony bills just being passed because members of the legislative branch of government are in power, those that caused atrocities and killed our people up to or even exceeding 250,000. They feel that, they should just go with impunity. So no war crime code should go on. So if the executive branch of government is not going to implement the war crimes code and the TRC report, these members of the legislative branch of government, that extended the time to 6 and 9 years terms to avoid persecution for the atrocities committed against the Liberian people, are just in bed with the executive branch of government to avoid the inevitable persecution for the crimes against Liberians. Okay, so now Justice Cabinet Janet was illegally removed from the Supreme Court of Liberia through a flawed process initiated by the executive branch of government, involving actions by Cabinet Janet that were legal. The actions by Cabinet Janet were very legal, and there were no reason why he should have been removed from the Supreme Court. I think, in my personal opinion, that Justice Cabinet Janet made a mistake by attending the proceedings, because the proceedings were not initiated and implemented according to the Constitution of Liberia. The charges were not brought appropriately. So as such, Justice Cabinet Janet had no reason to be present in that courtroom. Okay? That would have caused a constitutional crisis that may have initiated further actions by the Supreme Court to address that issue. But Justice Cabinet Janet proceeded to attend all of the hearings and allow for the proceedings to be completed and to ensure the removal of a justice of the Supreme Court of Liberia illegally. Now, Justice Cabinet Janet took his case to ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States. Apparently, they have judicial authorities and oversight to rule in favor of independent actions or inactions by the governments of their member states. So in this case, the ECOWAS Communities of West African States is going to review the case of Liberian Supreme Court Justice Cabinet Janet. Okay, and I am sure that Justice Janet will have an opportunity to present his case to ECOWAS to take a closer look at some of the violations of our Constitution. Okay, so thank you very much for listening. And, you know, I wanted to also throw some light on the illegal actions of Chancellor A. Nebrusi Nwabudike. This is a Nigerian citizen that infiltrated our system and fraudulently obtained citizenship through illegal means, okay, and benefited immensely from the economic and social environment in Liberia, moving all the way up to chair important committees, governmental agencies, autonomous agencies in Liberia. Okay, a foreigner was even recommended by the executive branch of government to head the Liberian Election Commission. Can you imagine? The legislative branch of government failed Liberia because they are responsible to make the law and they are responsible for oversight. The executive branch of government failed Liberia to the extent that they would recommend a foreigner that infiltrated our system without due diligence. It just showed that there's no seriousness here. People just do whatever they feel because they feel that Liberians have short memories. Liberians are easily influenced when you bring political party affiliations. They feel that political parties are enemies. So they put one Liberian against the other, and then they sit in the background, do not pay attention to the important things about our country. Anyone can come and just infiltrate our system for many years. Okay, so the executive branch of government did us no good by nominating Nwabudike without due diligence. Okay, and they will say that, well, the previous administration was responsible for due diligence, and they appointed him to senior positions or allow him to practice. No, this current CDC administration gave the previous administration a very high mark, indicating that they accepted the actions completed by the previous administration as acceptable and did now own all of the actions of the previous administration. You cannot keep going back and blaming the previous administration for action that you approved. Okay, so Nwabudike committed fraud. Even the Liberian Bar Association did a comprehensive investigation and found out that Nwabudike obtained all of these documents and authorities in Liberia illegally. The legislative branch of government rejected his nomination to the chairmanship of the National Election Commission of Liberia, but this still did not do anything in terms of previous position that he held. There are no actions for Nwabudike committing fraud as a citizen of Liberia. Everybody's just mute, and we see nothing from the Solicitor General of Liberia, Serenius Cephas, in reference to the fraudulent activities committed by Chancellor Nwabudike in terms of illegally obtaining the Liberian citizenship. Absolutely nothing from the Solicitor General of Liberia. For some reason, perhaps it is because this nomination of Nwabudike was done by the executive branch, specifically the President George Manewia, and I think he and Nwabudike are in bed. So because of that, the Solicitor General chose to ignore this violation of our Constitution and just allow this to go because they feel Liberians have short memories, and once election time comes around, they're going to take the same Liberian people money that should be used to develop the communities and to make sure that other things are appropriated for the communities, and use that money to just bribe few Liberians for their birthrights and their election voting rights, give them some rights, and that is all the people of Liberia are good for. During election or when election coming around, just go give them some rice, bags of rice and some money, and tell them this and tell them that, and that's it. They're going to vote for you. Look, voting in Liberia is by secret ballot. By secret ballot. Do not allow any political party to think that your loyalty is to them, Liberians. Your loyalty is to Liberia. Make sure that if you're voting for someone, it is not because the person is your friend, or it's not because the person is famous, or it's not because the person is from a political party, or it's not because the person is from a particular tribe. Okay? It should be because of what the person is capable of doing, what the person has done in the past to make you to feel that this person is capable and qualified to improve your life. So when you vote, even if you don't know a person, don't say, well, I don't care, this person is just coming, or I don't know this person, I know this other person because I'm in the political party, and so because of that, so say one, so say all. No. Because sometimes the person that is your friend or that is a member of the political party do not understand how to implement the functions of that position, and so they will not benefit you. Okay, they will hurt you. So look at what the person have done before, ask questions, and do not sit there and just vote. Even if the person is your own candidate, make sure that that person you put in there will do the right thing for Liberia and for you, so that when you are not there, when that particular party is not in power anymore, that you expect the same to be done for all Liberians, not just for a certain political party. If a different political party came into power, we are not going to look at the action of that political party just for their partisan against other Liberians because of their affiliations with other political parties. No, we are going to make sure that they work for the people of Liberia. So do not look at friendship, do not look at political party affiliations. Look at what the person have done in the past and what they are capable of doing to move Liberia for all of us forward. You want more jobs in Liberia that are paying good money, more companies, more private sector jobs, the complete implementation of our constitution, no violation by officials of government that feel that they can just drive on the other side of the road or just use their power and authority to arrest a female because she doesn't want to be involved with them, or just intimidate anyone because they want to have their own actions, assuming that they are above the law. Okay, so we want to see action by this government to persecute Nwabudike for illegally obtaining citizenship of Liberia. Okay, we're going to take another break, and once we return, we are going to look at briefly the actions of Criminal Code C. All right, and the issue of proposal in the previous or from the previous administration in reference to equal representation for law passed in 2016. All right, so thank you very much. Stay tuned. We will be right back after this commercial break. This is your host, J. Christian Walsh Sr. Thank you for watching. Welcome back to LIB Constitution Review and Action Committee. This is your host, Chair Christian Wise Sr. We are going to take a look at the actions of Criminal Code C, okay, and then equal representation proposal that was done by the previous administration for seats. Now, Criminal Code C, that is a part of the judiciary branch of the Liberian government, recently granted clearance to, I believe, 3 former officials of government in reference to the 16 billion Liberian dollars that went missing in our country. First of all, look, we have a problem in our country, and unless we admit that we have a problem, we are not going to take any steps to correct those problems. The first problem that we have, before anything else, is the fact that in our entire country, we do not have addresses. It shows that we are so disorganized and shameful, okay? Embarrassing. We do not have addresses in Liberia. Can you imagine? Tell somebody, go behind the tree, you're going to see a red house. It's just laughable, okay? And it is sad in our entire country that we do not have addresses. The postal services in Liberia is just useless. Why are they even there? They're not effective. They don't deliver anywhere else in Liberia. I suppose other than Monrovia, and all of the branches are not functioning. You send something to Liberia, you don't get there on time, or people try to steal it. And what kind of system is that? Why do we have the Ministry of Postal and Telecommunication? Nothing. Completely dead. But all of the senior officials are getting paid huge money. The minister, assistant minister, or deputy minister, they go sit in their offices and they get paid huge money for doing nothing. We hear nothing from the telecommunication mailing system in Liberia. Completely zero. It's unacceptable. Now we have the currency in Liberia being called Liberian dollars. How irresponsible can you be as a government to allow the name of your currency to be Liberian dollars? The legislative branch of government did not mention or vote any currency as the official currency name for Liberia. We were using the United States currency. We started using that, then we changed the currency, but the name was never voted upon by the legislative branch of government. We just assume and just start calling the currency, the legal tender in Liberia, Liberian dollars. No, the dollars is the United States currency. You cannot call Liberian currency Liberian dollars. No. Legislators come together and decide on the name of the Liberian currency and call them that. Just how the Liberians just ignore everything that is so important to our country. The name of our capital city is just a complete disgrace. James Monroe, a slave owner, named the capital city of our country is named in honor of him. We just disregarded our own capital city name of Ducor. What a beautiful name. We just ignored that to accept Monrovia in honor of James Monroe. This is unacceptable. Liberians need to grow up and try to do something Liberia is, if not the oldest independent African nation, 170 some more years. Nothing, absolutely nothing to show. All of our leaders just self-centered, want to steal. All of the officials just come to power to steal from the country and feel that they're just going to just steal and leave and with impunity. No, this is going to be different. You're going to be audited. Remember that the long hands of the law is going to reach out to you and to all of the financial institutions to provide information about assets, so I want you to understand that. Now, 16 billion was missing just like that in our country. The president of Liberia felt that it was necessary to fly in the face of such infringement of our constitution, such violation of the people, to fly to represent Liberia at the United Nations and just leave a 5 minutes videotape with the not video, audio tape for the people to listen to just push them aside and gave them a 5 minutes audio tape for them to listen to on such very important matters. Okay? And Liberian people, what did you do? You sat like cowards. You did nothing. You said nothing about that. Okay? The government of Liberia indicted some officials of the central bank, okay, in reference to this 16 billion. So this was all a cover-up, okay? When the government is going to go and indict individuals, that means that there are evidence that were collected by the government, and the evidence were such that it was warranted for the government to go and persecute these individuals. So without any persecutions, the government of the Republic of Liberia now feels that, Liberians have such short memory span. So this 16 billion saga is over. We're just going to just drop all the charges and nothing is going to come out of this. And this is exactly what they did. They dropped the charges just like that. Without any persecutions. So they expect Liberians now to just forget about everything. Everything is all good and well. It's now past, and because, Liberians have short memories, this is just going to go away, go under the rug. But we're going to make sure that we throw light on these things. Liberians, especially the ones in Liberia, because the Liberians in the diaspora are not given their constitutional rights to vote by absentee ballots. Okay? Our rights are being violated. But you Liberians in Liberia, you voted for Doe government. You said Native woman born soldier and Concord man born something else, and you caused the lives of lots of Liberians to be taken with impunity. Then you turn around and you voted for Taylor under pressure and say, you killed my mother and you killed my father, I'm still going to vote for you. I cannot comprehend that kind of mentality. Okay? Now, you turn around, you voted for Lrtn. Even though our peers got together and constituted the TRC report, Truth and Reconciliation report in Liberia, that stated clearly those that bear the most atrocity or responsibilities for the most atrocities in our country should be held accountable, and they should not hold public office, including Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. But you Liberians in Liberia, you did not even care about the effort that were put into this TRC. You just completely ignored the law and voted for Ellen Johnson Sirleaf for 2 terms, even though she said she was going to burn the country down and rebuild it and made all kinds of statements. You did not care. And what happened? Ellen Johnson got there. She paid no attention to the medical to do to the healthcare industry of Liberia. She paid no attention to the education systems of Liberia. Had she paid attention to those, the people that are voting now, or those that are just going around or voted for things that were not clearly understood, would have never done that. They would have been educated. But because of that, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf got in bed with this administration, and even after being voted twice for 2 terms, okay, in conflict with the TRC report, was able to bring or work on behalf of CDC to bring George Weah into power, because he stated confidentially that, according to reliable sources, that he was never going to persecute her for anything committed previously, and he was not going to implement the TRC report, after clearly stating that this is something that the CDC was going to do when they were the major opposition party in the Republic of Liberia. So again, we see that the charges against those 3 officials of the Central Bank of Liberia were just continued for a period of time to just distract the mind, the short memory minds of Liberians, and now they just dismiss the charges. The government just dismissed the charges, and Criminal Code C have now given the people what we call a clearance to move as they feel, do what they want, because the charges were dropped just by the government. Government just kept it long enough, because when it initially happened, this was a hot issue, and the government just nurtured it until at such time the short memories of Liberians would be diverted to something else, and then they would just drop the charges with impunity and just get away with it. Look, these kinds of actions detrimental to our country. Now, Africa's oldest independent nation has finally achieved her goal as #1 in the world now. The number one poorest nation in the world. But some of our officials make millions. Some of our officials, almost the entire budget is just to pay certain members, high members of the executive, members of the judiciary, and members of the legislative branch of government. The Liberian people just do not care. You cannot sit there and support what is going on and expect others to do the work for you, you Liberians that are in Liberia. Okay? We're going to take one more break, and then when we come back, we're going to touch on the final issue for today, which is the recommendation by the previous administration in 2016 of a bill that provided reserved seats for female lawmakers, okay? 5 seats in particular, I think, for female lawmakers. So we're going to touch base with that, and then we're going to briefly allow you to call in or to present whatever text or comments you have, and we're going to conclude our program for today. So we're going to take a break. Be right back. Stay tuned. This is your host, J. Christian Watt Sr., and this is LIB Constitution Review and Action Committee. Thank you for watching. Peace. Okay, welcome back and good afternoon again. This is LIB Constitution Review and Action Committee. I'm your host, J. Christian Watts Sr. Today we have touched base on a lot of different issues, including briefly on the preamble, Article 1, Article 2, A and B, the demonstration in Liberia. We touched base on statement by lower level officials of the Ministry of Information, Justice Cabinet Janet. We express our condolences to the families of those killed by the flood in Liberia. We admonish our citizens in Liberia to still keep the guards up against this coronavirus. This is a serious pandemic, and we urge you to make sure that you do not bring your guards down in any way. There are inactions and silence by the Solicitor General in terms of the criminal activities of Nwabudike citizenship status. Nothing has been said about that. Criminal Code C recently just dropped or just granted clearances to I believe three former members of the Central Bank of Liberia in reference to the 16 million saga. And finally, today I wanted to just bring attention to the proposal or bill that was completed but not forwarded to the Senate or anyone by the previous government for reservation of certain number of seats, specifically 5 seats that should be reserved for female in the Liberian government. I think it is in the legislative branch of government. So I wanted to just briefly state that, look, it is good that we did not proceed with this law to reserve seats based on gender. Okay? All Liberians, male, female, or anyone, should earn the right to be elected in a position. No seats should be reserved because of gender, because the person is a female or male. No. A female is not less than a male. A female has all of the propensity like any male, all of the skills and talents like any male. So it should be an equal opportunity or situation where everyone is elected to public office based on their abilities and based on the will of the constituencies of the process. Okay, so I disagree that any consideration should be given to any gender for reservations of specific seats within any branch of the Liberian government. Okay, so again, I'm happy that this did not go forward, and we should not elect officials of government because of gender. Electing a female in a position does not guarantee that that female is going to work on behalf of the Liberian people. Okay, so we want to elect male or female based on their qualification, based on what they have done previously, and based on their abilities to implement the responsibilities associated with that position effectively. Okay, that's what we should be looking at, not because this person is a female, so we should go ahead and reserve certain seats for them just because they are of the opposite sex or gender. Okay, so again, that's my personal opinion, and I will at this time, before we close today, accept telephone calls. I believe the producer will put the telephone number on the screen briefly so that we can have some telephone calls before we conclude this program. So the line will be open. You're welcome to call in. I am going to look at the computer right now and respond to a few comments. So let's do that right now, okay? Hold on one second while I do that. Okay, let's see here. Okay, hold on. We're going to take some calls. The telephone number is now on the screen, so you may call in and say what you have to say. Lrtn would like to take this opportunity to thank you for watching and to share this video so that we have more people. So I'm going to have the number up briefly. We have one person. The president of Smart Investment was just on the phone, Mr. Kwame Primpe. Welcome to the program, sir. We have a comment here from an individual. Let me see whether I can go to the comment section and see what the people are saying now in terms of the what is going on with this program. So stay tuned. There may be silence for a little bit while I navigate towards the messages, okay? Stay tuned. Welcome back. This is Lrtn Constitution Review and Action Committee. This is your host, J. Christian Watts Sr. We thank you for watching this program, and we urge you to advertise on Lrtn Live so that we're able to bring you this program weekly, and we thank you for your support. Okay, now the lines are open, and I think we had either a comment from some comment from one of our guests. So our producer is going to look for that comment and put it on the screen for us. Let's see. Okay, we have a comment here. Well, Mr. Kwame E. Primpe just commented that, Mr. Y, you are looking good. Well, thank you for the compliment, sir. Thank you for the compliment, and all the glory is to God. We thank him for everything he's doing for us, for our nation, and for the world. Okay, so thank you very much, and thank you for watching. I urge you to share this video. Okay, we're going to keep the lines open for a short time, and if we do not get any calls, then we are going to conclude this program of Lrtn Constitution Review and Action Committee for today, Saturday, June 27, 2020. And that will be it until our next program on Saturday. So the lines are open. Today, due to time constraints, we are not going to keep the lines open for an extended period of time. And we are going to be concluding this program shortly. So again, thank you for watching Lrtn Live. This is your host, J. Christian Watts Sr. We are here every Saturday in the afternoon, and God bless you. And we're going to conclude at this time. Thank you for watching. We wish you God's blessing, and we wish blessings for our dearest Republic of Liberia under God's command. Okay, we invite you to stay tuned next week for another edition of LIB Constitution Review and Action Committee. This is your host, J. Christian White Sr. Thank you for watching. Goodbye. Have a beautiful weekend. One love. It's perfect.